Okay, so we're going to do an advanced review of the forthcoming Criterion release of the René Clément film Purple Noon, also known as Plein Soleil. This film is the original film adaptation of the Patricia Highsmith novel The Talented Mr Ripley, and it's really good. It's from 1960. It's a French language film, even though some of the characters are supposed to be American. It's just the way they kind of did things back then. You couldn't really get away with that today, but it works in the era. Now the film itself I really enjoy. I'm a big fan of the American version of it with Matt Damon. I have that on Blu-ray. It's not the best Blu-ray of that, to be honest, from Studio Canal, but it's the only one available. If they do a proper restoration of that one, I'll probably upgrade. This one here, as far as picture quality, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I'm sure Criterion have done the best they can. It's quite grainy, a little grainier than I thought it was going to be, and there's a little bit of noise in the grain. I don't mind grain at all, but it was a bit thicker than I was expecting and a little bit more noise than I was expecting. There isn't really any flecks or lines. It's fairly clean in that respect, but there is a strange mix of really soft shots and really crisp shots side by side, and that could just be the source material, and I'm sure it is the best material they had available, but it certainly looks better than the old DVD. I had the DVD, I've sold it a little while ago when this was announced, and that was always a very subpar DVD, kind of a washed out look. I don't think it was the right aspect ratio. This is the correct aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1. And the colours are really strong, as I say, but there is a little bit more noise than I was expecting, and a little, sort of mix of quality of shots. But for the most part, for a smaller title such as this, it certainly looks probably as good as we're ever going to see it, and certainly the best we've ever seen it, so it's good. Now, one thing I will say about the visual presentation is that the subtitles, the English subtitles, which are removable, but for English-speaking countries such as mine, you'll most certainly have them on. There's a strange effect that happens sometimes, not all the time, when anything kind of white or flashing goes quickly past the subtitles. They kind of deteriorate and come back. It makes them a little difficult to read. I've noticed this quite a lot in the early portions of the film. Subtitles not acting the way they should. And it is still readable, but it's actually quite distracting. So I don't know what happened there with the subtitles, but it's definitely not up to the usual Blu-ray standard. Other than that, it's a good upgrade of the picture quality and sound quality, despite the issues mentioned. Now let's have a look at the back here. Just has a description and the special features, which I'll read you the special features that are listed. A new digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, new interview with René Clément, scholar and author Denitsa Bantcheva, I'm presuming that's how it's pronounced, and archival interviews with actor Alain Delon, this of course being his breakthrough role which made him famous in Europe, and novelist Patricia Highsmith, on whose the book Talented Mr Ripley the film is based, as I mentioned before. Has the original English language trailer, plus a booklet featuring an essay by film critic Jeffrey O'Brien and excerpts from a 1981 interview with Clément. Now, Patricia Highsmith did more than one novel, of course, about The Talented Mr Ripley. This was the first film adaptation of that particular book, and of course it followed up with the American one I mentioned earlier, which was just called The Talented Mr Ripley. There was also, between those two, a Wim Wenders film with Dennis Hopper in the role of Mr Ripley, and it's called An American Friend. It's not available on Blu-ray yet. I'll definitely pick it up, it's good. And that was based on the book Ripley's Game, and they also made another movie with John Malkovich in the role some years later, which I'm not a fan of, so I won't be picking that up. And then since then there's also a fifth straight to DVD movie based on another book. The name escapes me. I'll put it in the in text there if I remember, which from all accounts isn't very good, so I haven't sorted out. So there we have it. We have the book on the inside. There's the disc, and behind the disc we just have a little shot of the feet and another pair of feet of someone who looks like they're dead. And then of course the booklet, another great Criterion booklet with all sorts of photos and information and interviews as mentioned. So it's a good package from Criterion. To be honest, I was probably expecting a little more in the visuals department, but the colours are very lush, the aspect ratio is good, and I'd probably give this slightly higher marks if there wasn't that issue with the subtitles, but I would still recommend picking this up. If you haven't seen it, or if you're a fan of the American version with Matt Damon and Jude Law, I would say come check this one out. It's not quite as epic as that one. It's the story sort of cut down to the bare bones. It's a shorter film, definitely worth checking out.